The young great.
The tape, let's grind. Shut up. The tape. Let's grind. The tape. We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Film guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirk is smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Wednesday evening. Normally, this saying is reserved for Thursday night, but tomorrow we have a watch-along party, so we're not going to be doing the full glitz and glam of a live show. Last show, best show. Excited to do this one, guys, with you guys today. Too excited. Absolutely slam-packed show as usual. But I want to start by just giving you a rundown. By the way, folks, for those counting at home, it's Wednesday. That's right. It's Wednesday. We've released since Sunday a film study on Georgia and Notre Dame, a film study on Ohio State versus Oregon, a film study on Penn State versus Boise State, a film study on Zachariah Branch, a film study on Noah Thomas. There's one coming tomorrow on Jaden Harris, and another one coming soon on Adrian Wilcox, all this week. Oh, by the way, this is hours 6 and 7.
Correct.
Live streams since Sunday. We've been putting it in.
We've been doing a lot of work.
We've been doing a lot of work. We've been putting in the work, son. That's what we've been doing out here. How about that?
Hell yeah, dude. Nothing new.
You're not tired, are you?
Nah.
I'm not. I couldn't imagine being tired. I couldn't imagine feeling sorry for yourself at all during today's show. We're going to get after it. What a time. What a time to be subbed to this channel. What a time to be in here hanging out, absolutely grinding the tape. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. We have a Cotton Bowl preview and prediction for you guys. We're going to play a game game, I guess I'm guessing the Football Power Index, is this for 2025?
This is for the 2 upcoming games.
Oh, so the FPI prediction machine.
The win percentage.
Okay, we're going to play that game. Can Brooks pin the tail on that donkey? Pre-2025 hot seat. We'll tell you who's on the lookout for that one. Kirk Herbstreit in the news today, so we'll talk a little bit about that, as is Bill Belichick. Belichick already doing it, Kirby. Already doing it, already flirting with it. Ain't even coached the damn game yet, already flirting with it. I have a theory, a half-baked theory I want to release on the audience tonight. James Franklin talking that talk in the presence of the man who he was talking about. Love that. We have What If Wednesday returning to the show tonight as well. I want to start the show by giving a quick shout-out to our friends over at Better. If you have not already, headed over to Better using promo code Brooks. Feel free to do so today. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $200 over there with those guys, and it's a great place to play your player props, guess more than or less than individual player props on college football players over there on Better. Again, that promo code is Brooks. And while we're handling business, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button and firing off in that chat over on YouTube. If you're watching us on Twitter, all you got to do is hit that screen a couple times, let that heart fly. Too much caffeine today. Too much caffeine today, Kirby. It'll be okay, though. Let's get into this James Franklin quote.
Carter?
I probably did. Did I call you Carter?
I heard the cart come out before the...
That's on me, dude.
It's okay.
It's on me, dude. For those of you at home, Carter is my son's name. It's not just some random man's name that I'm calling Kirby. That would be interesting. These James Franklin quotes. You didn't see this today, and I don't know how. You must have been. Yeah, you must have been head buried in class. Classes returned for you.
Yeah, so I've got classes from basically 9 to 5 throughout the day with a 1 hour break in between.
Classes 9 to 5.
There you go.
Trying to learn how to make a living.
It's not bad.
Did you lose your mind?
No, not yet. Day
Nice.
one.
Nailed it. I want to read these quotes to you. I got these delivered via the research department in my text messages today. This went viral today because James Franklin is basically talking about how Notre Dame should be in a conference while sitting in a joint press conference with Marcus Freeman, the head coach of Notre Dame. Here's the quotes. It should be a consistent thing across college football, Franklin said. This is not a knock at Coach Freeman or Notre Dame, but I think everybody should be in a conference. I think everybody should play a conference championship game, or nobody should play a conference championship game. I think everybody should play the same number of conference games. This is obviously being asked about Notre Dame not being in a conference, and I do want to say that when you get clipped like this, you never hear what Marcus Freeman's talking about. You never actually hear the question from the media member. You never get the full context at all. You just get the clip. And the clip sounds like he's taking a shot at Notre Dame, even though he talks about how he's not taking a shot at Notre Dame before he kind of takes a shot at Notre Dame. But if you go watch the press conference today, you will see that there are a lot of quotes from Franklin before he even delivers this one that gets put out on social media. But I think Fox Sports is the one that runs it, or the ones that runs the clip, and it goes viral. And what Franklin is talking about before he even brings up Notre Dame is talking about the College Football Playoff Committee and the task that they're given. And the task that they're given is selecting these 12 teams. But you're comparing apples to oranges to bananas in some of these conferences, right? And that's hard for these College Football Playoff Committees. So what Franklin was ultimately talking about is doing everything we possibly can to make these comparisons as even as they possibly can. So he didn't just talk about Notre Dame getting out of this independence and getting into a conference, but also talked about how all these conferences should play the same number of games, which I don't think is necessarily true, but went on to all of these things that we should even out across the landscape of college football. And of course, Kirby, all that gets clipped is James Franklin, quote unquote, taking a shot at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly the sexy thing for social media to put out there. I don't have a problem with... Here's my take on it. I have less of a problem with Notre Dame not being in a conference than I do everyone looking at the four main conferences and kind of agreeing that they're all made equal.
No.
I would much rather you say, okay, the SEC, the Big Ten are here, the ACC's next, and the Big 12 is here, rather than say, Notre Dame's got to join a conference somewhere. Because if Notre Dame joins a conference, say they join the Big 12, they'll run through the Big 12, basically. Or they'll have great success in the Big 12, and it won't make that much of a difference for them.
And look, Freeman was asked about this, obviously, and he starts going into a discussion about how he looks at their schedule as a pro schedule. All right, they go clear across the country. They play predominant schools. He said we opened our season on the road at Texas A&M, and we finished our season on the road at USC in LA. So I understand what he's talking about. He says, and when we go out on the recruiting trail, we pitch this to players and we explain this to them, that you play on a much more professional national landscape. And he said, but it does have its kickbacks, right? We can't win a conference championship. We can't win an automatic bye in the first round of the playoffs right now. And we understand that. What we do is go about handling the things that we have to handle. And he gave the coach speak there. And he also admitted that if a college football playoff committee came out and said, Notre Dame, you have to join a conference, then Marcus Freeman said that they'll join a conference. They'll do whatever they have to do to compete on the national schedule or the national landscape. My only kickback on this stuff with the Notre Dame stuff, and if you look at it historically, they have a strong, strength of schedule normally. Mm-hmm. They play, and everyone thinks they play a shitty schedule. They actually, when it comes to playing top 25 opponents, because they have annual, matchups with teams like USC, they have some of these top 25 matchups and some of these tougher, difficult schedules year in and year out. Here's where I want to push back on that. And they did, I believe, sign I think they signed a home and home with Texas recently.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so they are going and scheduling these big name brands, but I am of the opinion that some of these athletic directors, based off what we've seen from the College Football Playoff Committee and their selections and not paying attention to strength of schedule as much as you think they would, I would imagine the incentive to schedule Notre Dame out of conference moving forward is zero. Why in the hell am I scheduling Notre Dame? Why? So I can get a good TV package, or I can get a good split of a TV. My TV package from the SEC is about to pay me $75 million a year. My Big Ten TV split already pays me $80 million a year. What is the incentive for me to schedule Notre Dame moving forward? So my schedule can be harder? They don't care about strength of schedule. So moving forward, I think we have to pay attention to how tough is Notre Dame's schedule. This year, I don't think that applies. But what I don't feel comfortable about saying with regards to Notre Dame's schedule is this. I feel like half of it is a Mountain West schedule and half of it is a mixture between a Big Ten and an ACC slate. Neither of which look anything like the year-in, year-out gauntlet that the Big Ten appears to be, and certainly the year-in, year-out gauntlet that the SEC appears to be.
No,
right?
Definitely not.
So that would be my one pushback on Notre Dame fans who have found themselves on this channel, who I'm appreciative of.
Yeah, and that's definitely the main pushback is when Notre Dame has to go out and play the powerhouse of Navy football. People kind of get irritated with that. And let's be fair, Notre Dame does have the strength of schedule statistically that's up there with some of the better ones. But the week in and week out grind is what makes your schedule difficult. It's what makes being in the Big Ten so hard. What makes being in the SEC so hard. Notre Dame doesn't have that right now. And that's not to say that they're any less of a team because of it. They just beat the Georgia Bulldogs. Like, they're a legit football team. But I do think that the outsiders are somewhat upset with the fact that Notre Dame essentially has a cakewalk to the playoff for the rest of time, as the way that it currently stands. So, what are you looking up?
I was told to look up their 2025 schedule. I bet
it'll probably make you pretty mad. I'm just gonna guess.
But dude, have you seen Oregon's? Have you seen Oregon's 2025 schedule? What, join the Big Ten so you can play Idaho and some mid-majors and then, avoid all the big boys in the Big Ten because you got the conference lottery like most of these teams do sometimes? Let's look at it. All right, so they're at Miami, Texas A&M, Purdue, at Arkansas, Boise State, USC, Navy, at Pitt, at Boston College, NC State, Syracuse. Not a bad slate. Honestly, that's a way tougher schedule than I guarantee anybody in the ACC's got coming up next year.
Yeah.
That's tougher than Oregon's schedule next year.
I do think Miami's not going to be a show.
Correct. They're going to be shelling themselves currently
this year.
But, that's not how we advance a schedule.
That's fair.
We scheduled a top 15 perennial football team five years ago. That's what we did. That's on Miami for not being up to what they were last year this year.
Correct.
Right? So when you look at that schedule right there, it's not terrible.
No.
Now, again, talk to me. We got to have this conversation again in 5 years when, some of these, I would imagine Arkansas is not interested in scheduling Notre Dame moving forward.
Probably not.
Right? The next head coach that takes a job at Arkansas ain't exactly excited about drawing Notre Dame when they already got to play Alabama, LSU, and Georgia. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I'd be interested to see what these schedules look like moving forward. But until they start to deteriorate, and if I'm Notre Dame and if I've got my NBC TV contract, You got to come to me and meet me in Fairgrounds. This ain't going to be like the SMU situation where Notre Dame feels like they're compelled to get into a conference, a Power 4 conference, so they tell the ACC, we'll do it for free, which is just what SMU did, which I think most people listening to this channel probably know that. But there's like, of the 600-700 people watching right now, there's probably 150 of them that are like, wait a minute. SMU doesn't get any money from the ACC? No, they're doing it for free just to be in a Power 4 conference. I don't think Notre Dame feels that way or ever will.
When SMU's pockets are deep. Deep. But no, like you said, like
not a lot of oil money in Indiana. Is that what you're telling me?
Probably not a lot.
Probably not.
Jesus money, but like you said, the incentive. There's not incentives on both sides. Like Notre Dame has their TV deal right now, and they don't really need a conference as of now. You can make it all the way to the college football play without having to win a conference championship. That's been shown time in and time out. Whereas the other teams aren't going to be incentivized to schedule them. So it's kind of both sides kind of need each other, but they don't at the same time. It's interesting.
Kirby, I'm going to let you transition us into our next topic because it's near and dear to your professional heart. He's doing it already.
He's doing it, man.
I mean, Bill Belichick's what, like 19 wins or like 30 wins shy of the all-time winningest head coach record?
It's a
season and a half.
Season and a half
of winning football for him.
And I mean, like,
he's already flirting with the NFL, by the way. Go ahead.
Here's my take on it. I mean, obviously, we know Bill Belichick got hired as North Carolina's head coach this year. Had some recruits, had some players come in, has kind of gotten the ball moving on things. Now, the Raiders recently fired their head coach. I believe it was yesterday they did so.
Get going!
And they immediately his name has been tied to that. Bill Belichick, Raiders head coach, Tom Brady and partner ownership has reached out to him. And I'll say this.
His name has been
the Raiders fan in me loves this idea because it's Bill freaking Belichick, arguably one of the greatest NFL head coaches of all time. The college football fan in me thinks this is a very, very scummy move to even be flirting around as soon as you take the job. I would be fine with this after year one. I'd be fine with this after, 9 weeks into the season when the first NFL head coaching job becomes available. But to do it before you've even started anything and you've been recruiting kids actively, you'd have to assume they've been taking kids in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So you'd have to imagine there are some promises.
Bryce Baker.
There are some promises coming from Bill Belichick, and there are people who are actively going to North Carolina that are expecting to be coached by Bill Belichick. For him to be flirting around with an NFL organization, as exciting it would be for the Raiders, I think it's really scummy.
Are we even sure he's flirting, or are we just positive that they're calling?
I saw a couple of headlines.
Is he entertaining it?
Bill Belichick showing interest. Now, whether showing interest is fielding calls from Tom Brady because he was your quarterback that won you 6 Super Bowls, or he's legitimately setting up interviews or things like that, I don't know. But the fact is the headlines don't look very good right now.
Research department got us the number. It's 26 wins to tie Don Shula or break Don Shula. Tie Don Shula, so 27 to break.
So that's 3 seasons.
It's 3 seasons. He's 72?
72.
He's 72 years old. I find it hard to believe that Bill Belichick is going to retire on a college football sideline 30 or 27 wins shy of an all-time NFL record.
I agree with that.
Right? So the chat's hit us with some buyouts. Apparently, if he leaves before June 1st, it's $10 million. Newsflash, $10 million is absolutely nothing to Bill Belichick. Is that fair?
I would agree.
Yeah. If Bill Belichick wants to go sign another $80 million in the NFL, $80 million contract in the NFL to be the head coach of insert potential NFL, good football team, he going to eat that 10 mil. Sorry.
Eat it right away. So, I mean,
I guess he said $10 million is his salary. Whatever his buyout is, if he has to pay to leave, he will pay that. I'm sure the NFL team willing to hire him. You think Jerry Jones, if he wants to hire Bill Belichick, ain't going to eat some money?
Hell, Jerry Jones has been doing that for 15 years.
Brady can eat it.
Yeah.
With the Raiders. So can Bad Haircut Man. What's his name?
Mark Davis.
Yeah, so can Mark Davis. Bowl Cut Davis. What an interesting decision as a billionaire. To walk around with a bowl cut said such.
I respect it.
Really?
Dude, you got so much. Who cares what your hair looks like?
At that point, do you think he's used some PEDs to keep his hair?
I don't know. It doesn't look that way.
It would be a real shame use or a shameful use of performance enhancing's a hairline to rock a bowl cut like that.
Yeah, that's true.
That'd be a slap in the face.
If I had that much money, I would shave a male pattern baldness into my head. I'd have the cul-de-sac voluntarily.
Yeah.
If you could guarantee me that much money, I don't care. I'm rich. I don't need a hair.
I don't know if I'd go bald for $1 billion.
For $1 billion?
That's a lie.
You're a liar.
That's a lie. I'd be out here looking like Caillou for $1 billion.
I'd go bald for $1 million. I'd go bald for $500,000.
I could take this time. but I'm not going to do it. Has a sneaky $1 million clause in UNC contract for NFL immediate return. What is this clause? Okay, if it's before June, buyout clause drops to $1 million if he leaves on June 1st or later. So he wrote this in.
He kind of saw this coming.
Yeah. Interesting. Should have forecasted that coming, huh? You know, the idea of being able to forecast things is pretty important, especially when you're budgeting, Kirby. Mm-hmm. And as the new year returns, I'm always out here trying to pinch a penny. You know what I mean? I'm trying to save $1, make that sucker stretch. No better way to do that than to use our friends over at Rocket Money. What is Rocket Money? You might be sitting here asking. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users that have saved a total of $500 million. I don't know what that is per user, but that's a pretty daggum good average. I have the average. Saving members on average $740 per year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals today faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon. rocketmoney.com/gameon. What's that promo code? Game On.
Not as good as last night's read, but still a very, very solid read.
Yeah, we're just trying to show some love to a new family member over there at Rocket Money. Make sure you're doing the same. All right, make sure you're heading over there and making that money stretch. It might be one of those things where, you got to pay for a premium subscription, but how many premium subscriptions are offering you an opportunity to save money? Recoup your investment today over at Rocket Money.
Not that I can think of. Not a lot.
Nailed that like split hog. Speaking of split hogs, let's talk about hot seats. And is our boy Sammy Pittman on it in 2025?
You know, I
can't afford a slip back or backslide. Can't afford a backslide.
I thought about putting Sam Pittman on this list, and it just kind of feels like both parties are just kind of defeated at this point. Like, no one's super excited that Sam Pittman is the Arkansas head coach right now, and I don't think Sam Pittman is super excited. I think it's both kind of just like, you know what? He's a lovable guy. He's done good things for this school. Let's keep him around for one more year, and let's see if he calls it quits. Because I think his contract's almost up, is it not?
Yeah. He's a lovable coach. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned that. I'm thinking of their last two football coaches, not exactly lovable.
No.
Mr. Patino and Mr. Bielema.
Correct.
I don't know if they got 100%,
Didn't they have someone in between that?
Yeah. Didn't they hire, I think they did. Barry Odom had a defensive coordinator stint there. But either way, how often does Arkansas have a coach that's universally loved by everyone except for their fan base? Because I do think, and this is why he's on the hot seat list, you stay on the hot seat list after, barely making a bowl game this year, correct? You stay on the hot seat barely making a bowl list if they're putting up advertisements on the way to the stadium to actively fire you still on your last home game.
I think it was Chad Morris.
Chad Morris, was that one of those App State hires? Mid-major hires?
I believe so. It was like, hey, this might work. Didn't work.
Did not work. Who you got on the hot seat?
So I've got a bunch of names on the hot seat.
Come on with it. Let's go one at a time.
I want to start this one off by saying I don't think he gets fired next year.
Caveat.
I don't think he gets fired next year, but his seat is already hot coming into this one, especially the way he ended things. Kalen DeBoer. It's a make or break year for him. It's a are you the guy or are you not the guy type year for him, because as good as that season started for them, things quickly slid off the tracks. I mean, the loss to Oklahoma was embarrassing. The loss to Michigan was embarrassing. The loss to Vanderbilt, don't even get me started. Like, multiple losses this year where it's not even like, that was a bad loss. That was a you cannot lose that football game type loss, and he had 3 of them. So I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be on the hot seat coming in. He won't be fired, but they're going to be, if he turns in another season similar to 2024, he will be on the very, very hot seat in 2026.
One of those ones where you watch it closely. I don't think you're on the hot seat, but I think they got the Brunson burner, is a scientific term. They got the Brunson burner over there hooked up to the tubage, valves open, ready to start. Ready to start warming that plate up just a little bit, that seat up just a little bit. I've always said I thought DeBoer's best years at Alabama might come like year 3. where he's such a different style of offensive football coach in my mind, that once he gets his type of offensive lineman, his type of quarterback, his type of wide receivers on top of, Ryan Williams, I think they will be a little bit better offensively. I wonder how much the defense takes a deterioration now that, the greatest defensive college mind ever isn't the one handpicking the players.
Correct.
Even though towards the end of it, I mean, you could argue that he was missing a lot more than he normally did. Mm-hmm. So that's fair.
But I think I'll also say this,
that's a lot. 70 mil.
If the best years of Alabama
that's a lot.
Come in year 3, your first few years can't have 6 teams where you lose to 500 teams or teams that are above 500. That's just not acceptable. I understand there's got to be a growing out process. I mean, we all know Nick Saban lost to ULM in his first year, but it was a rough year.
Apparently it's Brunson Burner, not Bunsen Burner.
No, it's Bunsen Burner. You said Brunson.
I said Brunson. Shout out to Jalen, man. Big Knickerbockers fan over here. Does he still play for the Knicks? Yeah. That's good.
I haven't been tuned in the NBA in a while.
Hey, I wasn't tuning in very much in chemistry class either. So I think that's why I slid an R in there. And just because, I'll be making up words around here.
Yeah, you are the wordsmith here.
Who else is on the hot seat?
Let's go ahead and hit
Brent Venables? I think so.
I think that Bama win kind of cool.
I don't know, man. 7-5 ain't the standard at Oklahoma.
No, it's not. But it was also your first year in the SEC, and you did show that you can beat high-level SEC teams such as Alabama. I think if you don't have the Alabama win, I think things are very hot for you. But they at least have a staple win. It was a big one to hang their hat on. So I think he's got another year in him. Mike Norvell is the hot seat. You went 2-10 this year, dude. That's a fireable offense for 90% of the coaches out here. So Mike Norvell is definitely one on the hot seat. I put Mario Cristobal on here. I think if he follows up, because look at what Florida State just did. We all think that Florida State and Miami are kind of on similar trajectories, where you have this really, really good year thanks to the transfer portal and your quarterback and all those. All those guys left. Miami could go 6-6 this year. It's very possible. If that happens, I think Mario Cristobal might get fired simply because it was, hey, you had a really great season. You didn't even make the playoff here in a 12-team system. Now you're going 6-6. Mario Cristobal could very well get fired.
It was pretty damn bad out there in Mississippi State this year 1 under Jeff Levy.
Yeah, but...
And Kirby, I think they signed him 28 over 4. Mm-hmm. Is that right? No. We got research here. He gonna get it to us real quick. I don't think they signed him to a bunch, like a long-term deal. I think it was a 4-year contract.
No,
for like $5 million a year.
No, but at some point, programs like Mississippi State have to accept the fact that, hey, for 3 years we're gonna be not a great football. I feel like if you just keep having these 1-year revolving doors, that guy didn't work, get him out of here. You're never gonna ever be anything in this conference. You have to at least find someone and stick with them long enough to get some longevity in there. For sure. Because even if Jeff Levy isn't the answer, you can't go off of him year 2 when you went off of a guy after year 1, and they did it as well with another. It wasn't Kevin Smith. Who was the other guy? They fired someone else after year 1 too. So it's it's unfortunate what happened with Mike Leach, and I mean RIP, but you can't keep having revolving doors of 1-year coaching tenure. Yeah, the Arnett stint was really, really quick. And if you're in defense of Jeff Levy, the guy he chose to come be his starting quarterback got hurt game 3, had to start a true freshman in Tyler Van Buren, and go out there and compete in a conference that's really, really hard to win football games in. It is a 4-year deal, so says the research department. So if you were to fire him after 2, you're really only eating half the contract. That's not that bad. Not bad at all. All I'm saying is, in year 2, it can't be catastrophic bad. And I don't think it was that bad this year, but, I mean, getting handled by Toledo at home ain't exactly not embarrassing. No, it's definitely not good. So you definitely can't do that again and go, 2-10? 3-9? Were they that bad? They didn't win an SEC game, buddy. No, they didn't. So that's 8 losses off rip, and they lost to Toledo. That's automatically 3-9. Yeah. Yeah. You can't do that again. I agree. I mean... But it's until the Levy breaks. But again, it's is that Jeff Levy's fault, or is that the fact that the guy that was there last year, who I'm forgetting his name, they haven't had any longevity, and you keep slapping guys in there and say, "Oh, he went 3-9 this year too. Get him out of here." Like, you got to have some sort of longevity and some sort of consistency at your coaching position.
Kirby, it can't be 2-10.
I agree.
It can't be 2-10 2 years in a row.
But if you fire him again, like, what's stopping the next guy from going 2-10? Like, Mississippi State isn't somewhere where they're going to make a huge splash in the
Zach
portal.
Arnett didn't go 2-10.
Yeah, and they fired him after year 1.
I know. But if the standard was we fire Zach Arnett, because I think he was, to be honest with you, based off everything I heard, I don't think Zach Arnett was getting along with people out there.
Yeah.
I don't think that helps either. So, yeah, either way.
Here's another one. Lincoln Riley. Paul Feinbaum thought he was done by...
It's going to be expensive, though. So is Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's $60 million, I think.
I think they're trying to, like, get, hey, Lincoln, why don't you go to the NFL, man? You'd be doing us a great favor. But I don't think... There's no head coaching job for Lincoln Riley right now.
At what point is Hassan Longstreet starting for them? The 5-star that they signed out of San Diego.
I mean,
Jaden Maeva, by the way, didn't look bad when I watched the tape.
No, and like...
Or at least it looked fun. You know?
Yeah, and I didn't think that Miller Moss was the reason you were losing all those games in the first place. Like, obviously, we saw the tape. There's yards left on the field there, and there's some wrong decisions he's making, but the entire team is not very good right now. It's not just the fact that you didn't have a quarterback up to your standard. Like, you could have put Caleb Williams on that team, and they're probably going 9-3, 8-4.
Now, Kirby, you put the Kirk Herbstreit news in the timeline or in the show notes today. Apparently, the reports are he said he almost left game day.
So
why was this?
So obviously, when he took the Amazon Prime deal for Thursday Night Football, there's gonna be a lot of them juggling and everything.
I want to stop you because I want to give credit. I think this came from the interview with Ari Wasserman and God dang it, Andy Staples. Thank you, research department. Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman have a joint show on On3. Kirk Herbstreit joined them and said this. So continue.
Yeah, so he's talking about how he took the Thursday night Amazon Prime job, obviously, and he's like, that's going to be a lot of juggling. He didn't think he could do it. He figured, maybe I need to step away from College Game Day. Then obviously they brought on Pat McAfee. They brought on Nick Saban. He talked about how he's having more fun working at College Game Day than he has in 29 years. So that was kind of an encouraging thing to see, and it's also discouraging because I would argue that Kirk Herbstreit's the face of College Game Day. I know that Lee Corso is the main attraction when it comes to the headgear and everything like that. Kirk Herbstreit feels like the glue that holds it all together. So for him not to be there would be a shame.
Oh, I mean, having the opportunity to get credentials and go to those things and stand behind the actual desk and watch those guys work, it is very clear that not only is Kirk, like, everything revolves around him and they all look to him, but Kirk is the most that helps. Like, if Pat's got a big read coming up, Kirk will sit over there and kind of like help him through his notes and organize things for him. And then as soon as Pat stands up on the desk and y'all can't see it because they're showing, B-roll of plays and he's previewing the Oklahoma game or whatever, and he's giving his little notes. As soon as he sits down and they go to the next guy, Kirk's right there, hyping him up, giving him high fives and telling him great job. And you don't see... All you see is the vitriol on social media when he makes a take about your team that you don't like. What you don't see is these people operate and how important he is to the machine that you love so much. Everybody loves game day. Everybody watching this right now watches game day on Saturday. I can almost guarantee it. And if you choose not to, it's because you got some staunch feelings about Pat McAfee. But he does a great job running that show and helping out a lot. He's the one talking to the producer the whole time. If you really watch him, he's got his own little button over there and he's talking to that producer, letting everybody know where we're going next, what we're doing next. He cares about that show.
Stand-up dude, too.
Absolutely. I was kind of heartbroken on the revelation that he gave on that show, opposite of this. It's heartbreaking that he may have lost or left College Game Day. That would have sucked. Right. The biggest, that hurt Brooksy, was to find out that he does not run his own social media. He's not run his Twitter. He does not tweet. He does not DM. Now, the reason this hurt my soul just a tad bit, I've been exchanging sweet nothings in the DM with Kirk Herbstreit's son, apparently. Some mutual acceptance of appreciation of work with who I thought was a legend in the industry. I'm calling my stepmom, who's had the hots for Kirk for 30 years now. Hey, you ain't going to believe who just hopped in my DMs. Kirk Herbstreit's 22-year-old son.
Well, I mean, that may mean like he doesn't tweet things, he doesn't post ever. He's got someone to run that for him. But I would have to imagine if he's answering DMs and responding to things like that, like he's probably doing it every now and then. He recognized you at game day.
He did. I wasn't going to let the people know that, but you can big league for me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
he recognized me at game day. This is news to me. Did he?
You say, hey, what's up, Brooks? How are you? Like, knew you by first name, shook our hands, like all those things. Didn't recognize me, but
he approached us. We didn't walk up to him.
Correct. So he knows who we are. So he is at least has some form of awareness on social media, because otherwise, how the hell would you know who we were?
Correct.
I mean, we're in mom's basement right now.
Facts.
So don't be too down on yourself, is what I'm saying. Man.
I don't know. It did kind of hurt my heart.
It's fine.
I was like, dang, I ain't going to be DMing Kirk no more.
Kirk, if you're watching this, Brooks is really sad, man.
I am a little heartbroken, to be honest with you. I do understand his mental fatigue on social media, though. I understand why.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more than ever. There's been people that have kind of hated on him for social media.
Thanks a lot, Elon.
Well, not even that. I think that the things that Kirk said during the 2023 season with Florida State rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and ever since then, there's been a small coalition of people that's been growing a little bit that Kirk Herbstreit sucks. The
FSU coalition,
correct. And there's some people out there that like he's ruining college football. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, you're
not going to find a guy out there that loves the sport more than Kirk Herbstreit, that does what he does with the amount of work that he does. So.
Look, I get a lot of praise and folks that listen to us that show love on social media. But obviously, being a person who is, got almost 70,000 followers on Twitter, I ain't gonna lie to you, I read them. And I know you're not supposed to tell people that you read the negative comments, but everyone that tells you that they don't is a bold-faced freaking liar. They're all liars. And we all have bad days on social media, and it definitely takes a toll on you. My most recent bad day on social media had to have been after I predicted Tennessee to win against Ohio State.
Ooh, yeah, I remember
Buddy,
that.
I'm out here getting quote tweeted by Brian Hartline. That's not a good day when Ohio State fans are spending 12 hours in your mentions telling you you're fat and stupid. That doesn't feel good, but it's part of the business.
I remember I was at a Christmas party because that was a later kickoff. It was like the third quarter when the game was over.
You were thinking, "Damn, Brooksy's about to get cooked."
Well, no. I was like, I checked my phone one time to see like Twitter notifications, and it was you saying like, I was wrong about this one, guys. Like, oh, he's getting cooked right now. I didn't even have to see the rest. I just knew that if you come out and say, "Hey, I was wrong," you getting cooked.
My best strategy on that one is to stand in the paint. I'm very self-deprecating. I don't mind doing it. I think when you're wrong, you're wrong. The other one, it's ironically, it's been two Big Ten teams. It wasn't even on our show. I went on Snaps last year and said there is no effing way Michigan's about to bully ball Alabama. You do not bully ball SEC football teams. They got bullied. And next thing you know, I did a milli. I did 1 million impressions and 1 million views on their Twitter looking like an idiot. And it'd be like that. In that moment, just go on. Stand in that paint and wear it. Yeah. That's all you can do.
Sometimes, you're right about things. Sometimes.
Or you can pull the Acho. Just act like nothing happened.
That's a sensitive topic right now. I don't know if we can bring up.
I didn't. I just name dropped.
Maybe not.
I didn't say anything about it.
Time for Acho.
Yeah, just let it go. Just act like nothing happened. I have a theory, Kirby.
What's your theory?
It's half-baked. Half-baked theory.
Good movie.
Decent. It's on Damon Wilson. You want to hear this one? I got a theory.
Let's hear
it's
Damon Wilson.
No-note theory right here, even though I got the notes on it. There is if you know anything about recruiting, if you followed the Damon Wilson recruitment close out of high school, there was no secrets about who that one boiled down to. Okay. That's a 2023 signing, I believe, Kirby. It was Ohio State and it was Georgia. Okay. And that's a fact. That's fact number one. Fact number two, that even Ohio State fans, I think, would admit Ohio State per player pays more than Georgia. We all agree. By nod your head collectively, we all agree. So out of high school, the decision to go to Georgia over Ohio State had nothing to do with money. He probably passed up money going to Georgia over Ohio State. Now, why would you pass up money to go to a different school? And there's two reasons, right? Relationships, okay? And the other one would be developmental promise, right? I go here because maybe they have a better track to turn me into a first-round caliber talent. History would say that, right? Georgia has turned out a bunch of first rounders at the edge rushing position as of late. Ohio State, the most recent one, is one of the Bosas or Chase Young. So that's how far back you have to go there. So it was maybe a developmental play going to Georgia out of high school. And then you look up 2 years after high school, right? After high school, you're 2 years into college. And if you just do a general mock draft database, and I know it doesn't mean a hill of beans, you do a general mock draft database for Damon Wilson right now, you will find out he's anywhere from 65 to 90. So he's a bottom, early third rounder, bottom third round projection right now after 2 years of high school. So if you were to look at that on the outside looking in and you say, okay, fact number one, we know he probably took less money and did it as a projection play. Maybe I'll develop into a great football player here and my NFL money surpasses what it would be because I did this, right? You look up 2 years later and that projection has not turned out, right? He's not that. We don't think he's that right now. No one thinks he's that right now. So now you look at it and you say, okay, maybe I need to go take this money. Maybe I need to go take this money because my projection isn't what I bet it to be. And then you look at that and you can see on the outside looking in, and that makes sense because the whole time, I think over the last 2 or 3 days, everybody and their mama is looking for the why. Why did this dude do this decision? It makes no sense. He's going to come to Georgia next year. And he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy. No more Jalen Walker. No more Michael Williams. No more Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. You're the player that they're going to design everything for. That's your first rebuttal when you go into this discussion. He's about to be the guy. Yeah, you don't have a first-round projection right now. You're about to be the guy to go do that. The other rebuttal, Kirby, is obviously like, hey, Jalen Walker wasn't a first-round projection going into this season. He played his way into that because he was the guy this year, right? And then I throw another rebuttal on the other end, and I look at you and I say, well, I mean, Jermaine Johnson, it paid off for him. He left and became a first rounder. So you could see both sides of this. I just feel like everybody that I've looked at on social media is looking at this situation with Damon, and their first question is trying to figure out why. Because to most people on the outside looking in, particularly Georgia fans, you can't quite make sense of it.
No, and I don't think that we'll ever get like a true answer unless, something gets revealed about it. I do think that it's probably monetarily involved. It is the fact that Ohio State was looking for their guy. And I think that you are in a program at Georgia where absolutely nothing is promised to you. Jalen Walker was the guy right now. We were talking about this time last year where it's like, where's the room for him? Where's he going to start? Where's the opportunities for him? Now, obviously, Jalen Walker made his way, and Kirby Smart said he made coaches very uncomfortable this year in the way they had to use him. But like, if you're Damon Wilson, that might not be the path for you. Whereas if you go to Ohio State, they need it right now. And 1, 2, they'll pay you more. 3, they also put guys in the league. It's not like there's a massive drop-off from, if you go to Georgia, you're guaranteed to go to the league, whereas Ohio State, not really. Ohio State still puts guys in the league. You're still going to play good competition, and you're still going to be seen on the national stage. So it's kind of a lateral move, in my opinion, for more money right now. I get it. Which, again, I think that's what most people have kind of settled on. Well, he must be a money play. And again, if the projection out of high school was this guy goes to Georgia for 3 years and he's a first rounder, that projection's not on track right now. He would have needed a really, really big year this year. So you got to go recoup some of the money lost. Yeah. Right? That you thought was going to be allocated in the future. So it makes sense when you look at it like that. It doesn't make sense if you look at it emotionally, I think, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's many Ohio State fans that say, yeah, I don't know why he did that. Like, this doesn't make sense. I don't know if there's many fans that aren't Ohio State or Georgia fans are looking at this and going, this one didn't make sense to me. He had everything in front of him. Like, Georgia fans, I understand why you're upset, and you have a legit reason to be. Like, there's legitimate reasons for Damon Wilson to have stayed, but the ones as to why he left, I get. Mm-hmm. Lead me to water right quick. You want some water? So there's 2 college football games coming up this weekend, 2 massive ones, 2 of the last 3 games coming up. Can you believe that? Yeah. Damn. Quick. It went quick. Yeah, we set a goal, and I think we might hit it before the end of the season, $50K. We're getting close.
Yeah, I think we're at 44 now, right?
Just shy of it.
Just shy of it?
43.9.
Yeah, I can't quite keep track nowadays.
Anywho, 2 of those games are on Thursday and Friday, that being tomorrow. And the ESPN FPI projector gives a percentage for the 2 teams as to who they predict will win. Now, sometimes it's a little inaccurate. Sometimes people look at it really weirdly and it ends up being right. I think this is one of those times where the numbers are a little bit interesting. So I want to get your guess as to what do you think ESPN's win percentage FPI projector is for Notre Dame versus Penn State.
Penn State 53.7%.
So you think ESPN's favoring Penn State?
I do.
Notre Dame is favored at 58.5%.
But Vegas favors Penn State?
Correct. Now, if you remember, Georgia was favored in Vegas for the longest time. Notre Dame was favored by ESPN's FPI. Obviously, on the day before kickoff, Georgia flipped. Notre Dame became the favorite, so that might happen here. But it is interesting that ESPN's... Oh, that was crazy. Shh. I'm not going to say anything, but that was gross. Shh. But it is interesting that ESPN is very different than... you're going through it right now. I mean, he's hit his head on the desk.
Shut up! Continue your talks.
It's interesting that ESPN is so different from Vegas, especially when they run their own books. Second game, Texas versus Ohio State. What's your prediction there? What's the ESPN FPI projector?
Ohio State 69.4%.
Nice. Completely wrong. Texas is favored at 50.6%.
All right, so the ESPN FPI is out of his mind right now.
Is it?
I mean, that's a. What's the spread on that?
The spread, I think, is Ohio State by a touchdown right now. I haven't checked it.
ESPN FPI wilding.
I mean, it is, but
it's really heavy on strength of record, isn't it?
It is, and there's a metric system that does it. And like, I hate to be that guy. ESPN FPI projected Ole Miss to beat Georgia. They predicted Notre Dame to beat Georgia. Like, a lot of these ones where it's weird, like where it's like, are you serious? Ends up happening. So,
I've always been on the side where it's like, if there's a funny line, Vegas knows something. I've never looked at ESPN's FPI predictor and been like, oh, they must know something. No, I think their computer's just broke.
I mean, there's definitely when there's a computer aspect to it, but I mean, Vegas runs computers too. Like, it's all simulations. So let's not forget that.
You going to leave me with water one more time?
All right, talking about that Texas versus Ohio State game. What are some of the keys to the game for that one for you? In your
It's not where I wanted you to walk me.
Well, that's the water you're getting.
I didn't prepare you for this, Kirby, but I got quarterback film notes. And I don't have notes on them. I just want to tell you about these 4 quarterbacks.
What do you got?
You know? Let's give the rundown on the player profile of each of these individuals. Let's go Quinn Ewers. Tends to float the football. We all know this. Not as physically gifted as you would think at one point, the highest rated quarterback of all time in the history of recruiting rankings. Like, broke Trevor Lawrence's overall rating type dude in the 24/7 composite. Not as like, he's not 6'5", he's about 6'2" and a half. He's not 230 pounds. He's about 210. He's not a 4.58 runner. He's more like a 4.78 runner that kind of has quick feet. Doesn't throw the deep ball very well, but is really, really accurate in between the 20s. Like 20 yards and in, he is really, really good. The other stuff has been a very, very big problem for this football team for the last 2 years. He was not very good last year and has not been very good this year down the field. And this is an offense that is predicated off play action and taking shots down the field. He's going to have to get better at it, not only on this level, but certainly the next level. I don't know if he's going to enter the NFL draft. I don't think they necessarily want another year of that stunting the growth of Arch Manning. On to the next quarterback in that matchup is Will Howard. This is a big physical football player that I don't think you feel on TV. Do you feel like Will Howard's 6'5", 235 pounds on TV?
No.
He don't look like that. Maybe it's the pretty boy haircut and pretty boy face. He looks more like an accountant than a tight end, but he's physically a tight end. It's a big dude that you don't necessarily feel that. And I don't know why it is. You feel that about Drew Aller. You look at him and you feel that he is big, long, physical. This guy is that. A much better athlete than given credit for. But I think everyone knew that coming out of Kansas State because how much he ran in that Colin Klein offense, his last year as an offensive coordinator there at Kansas State. But I do think Will is obviously playing really, really good football right now. Everyone knows that. Everyone can see that. But I think he's getting a lot more help from his offensive coordinator than he got in the first 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks of the season. They were not being super complex in the passing department. They were kind of just asking him to throw corner routes ad nauseum. They haven't been doing that lately. They've been dialing it up, and it's certainly shown up. The Strider darts have been really, really impressive as of late. He's not just hitting open receivers. He's hitting them in stride, allowing them to run after the catch, and it's been a tremendous boost to that offense over the last 2 football games in particular. On to Drew Aller. Man, that's an really inconsistent talent football player. That made no sense. An inconsistently talented football player is Drew Aller. And I listen to Joel Klatt talk about Big Ten quarterbacks a lot because I know he's seen them in person. And seeing a quarterback in person, to me, is the last infinity stone on the eval for that guy, because you got to be able to see the ball come out of his hands to see what it really looks like. This dude has people raving about him in shorts and t-shirts at 6'5", 235, 240 pounds. He's thick. And the ball comes out like an NFL football player. He does not play the quarterback position with the level of refinement right now that is required to have consistent success at it. I think that's why their offense kind of goes through these periods. It also doesn't help that he doesn't have tremendous weaponry outside of Tyler Warren. So there's that. Certainly had one of his better games against Boise State and is playing hot football right now. So that's good news. Also, don't think he gets enough credit for the type of athlete, the style of athlete that he is with his legs and his lower half. On to Riley Leonard. The most game managers of the 4, okay? I think he has the most physical limitations at the position, but he plays the position from the neck up better than all 4 of them do. He understands football. He understands the job of the quarterback is to progress the offense down the field. However, by any stretch of the means, we've got to convert first downs. He does a great job of that, particularly with his legs.
Those are very good. I'm glad I brought those up for you to discuss.
Yeah, good job, man. Let's get into this Cotton Bowl preview and prediction. Kirby, what are the keys to the win? Make sure you're in that thumbs up button, by the way. Keys to the win.
So keys to the win, this one's kind of a basic one, but dominate the line of scrimmage. I don't think that Texas's defensive line, I don't think Ohio State's offensive line has gone up against a defensive line as great as Texas's. And we saw what Michigan did to them. Michigan gave them a lot of fits. I would say Texas's front 6 is a lot better than Michigan's this year. So that's kind of something interesting.
The interior defensive line for Michigan is better. Texas is better at 4 of the 6 spots.
The front 6 as a whole, I'd say,
correct.
Is better at least.
I'm going to go a lot better. Better.
It's better.
Better.
It's better.
Fair.
So, I mean, it presents a bigger challenge than the team that I think gave you a lot of problems. Now, we thought Oregon had the potential to be doing that. Obviously, Ohio State passed that test with flying colors, but I think if you dominate the line of scrimmage, that's going to be a very, very big one for both teams. Another one I have is forced mistakes. This one's as basic as they come, but it is 2 teams that all year have kind of shown on tape they are capable of doing it. This isn't a Notre Dame where they play clean-cut, really good football. They just might not be as talented as everyone else. These are 2 very talented teams that will shoot themselves in the foot if you provide them the opportunity, and when you do, you have to take advantage of those. So I think those are 2 of the bigger keys. What do you have?
For Texas, I've got several. You got to make stops, obviously. Keep them in front of you and make them execute 8 to 10 play scoring drives. They've been so explosive that it's been hard to beat them. They jump out on you so early with 3, 4, 5 play drives. That cannot happen for Texas on Saturday. I don't think they can match that level of explosivity on the offensive side of the football. You have to make them play discipline, particularly Will Howard, right? I'm not comparing him to this guy, but there was a time period in the Kansas City Chiefs evolution as a Super Bowl champion winning football team where everybody was just like, hey, just back up off of them. Just accept that they're going to drive the football on you. Do not let them run the ball into the end zone, right? Make them earn the right to get down there and then punch it in. Make them really grind it out. Make them play discipline. Eventually, they might make a mistake. Pat Mahomes might make a mistake. Will Howard might make a mistake. You might create a negative play on this offensive line, but you don't have the opportunity to do that if they're in the end zone immediately, okay? So you got to be able to do that. That's a massive key. But I think most importantly, and this is something that Texas certainly can do, with the way that Jeremiah Smith is playing, with how good Emeka Ibuka is in the slot, with how well Will Howard is playing right now at the quarterback position, you're going to have to play the box lighter than you've ever played it before. You have to make that offensive coordinator in that box say, okay, I'm just going to run the ball for 280 yards today. If Ohio State runs the ball for 280 yards and throws throws for 200, you might win that football game. But if Ohio State throws for 385 yards and rushes for 140, you're probably losing because they're going to score so quickly. You got to make them want to run the football by playing light boxes, because I think you have the talent to do so and stop them, or at least hold them in the run game doing that. But you're not going to play the pass department light and survive. You're not going to do that on Saturday. Offensively, they got to trying to find ways to make chunk plays on the ground. I don't think, and maybe Quinn Ewers summons a big-time, massive down-the-field performance. I'm not forecasting that. I wouldn't go into this game banking on that. However, I would go into this game banking on the fact that Sarkisian and this offensive game plan and this Kyle Flood guy can create chunk plays in the run game, okay? Maybe not 65-yard running in the end zone touchdowns, but can you create 5, 6, 7, 15 to 20-yard runs in this football game based off of alignment assignment? That's a big-time key for this offense on the Texas side of the football. Let's move over to Ohio State. Be 90% of what you have been, okay, on the offensive side of the football. Because for the last 2 football games, it's felt like you were NFL great. Like, it's felt like you could score against anybody at will. All you got to do is call the Dawgs off. It's trying not to score 50 today is what it's felt like for Ohio State. Can you be 90% of that against the nation's best defense in Texas? Because if you're 90% of what you've been and they play like they're capable of, I still think you can put up 30 points. But if you take a massive, massive setback or revert back to what you were, I don't think that's the case. Defensively, it's easy. It's simple. Easy is the wrong word. It's complicated or it's hard to actually execute, but it's simple in scheme. Okay, when you go to stop Texas, it's about 2 things, really 4. The first and foremost, right? You got to be able to stop wide zone. We all know this. But once you stop wide zone, and as you're stopping wide zone, you got to stop what's off of that, which is play action deep shots. Okay, all the posts, all the deep overs, you got to be able to stop that. So that's first and foremost, wide zone and the play action up off of wide zone. And the other thing that is required to stop Texas, you got to be able to stop the screen game, or at least render it neutral. Okay, they can't feel super efficient in it, or else they'll keep doing it to you. And once you stop the screen game, you have to stop the screen and bluff game. Right? The shots that they take off of their screen game, you got to be able to stop that. So there you go. There's the rundown. Those are the keys to the win. What are the can't do's, Kirby?
One of the can't do's is for Texas, and this one is can't get held to less than 30 points. I think that Texas's offense, in order for them to win this game, I think you're going to have to reach the threshold of 30. Ohio State's offense is just clicking on all cylinders right now. You're going to have a really, really hard time holding them to anything under than 30. You need to make sure that your offense can get there, which it's capable of, but it has shown at times that this might not be, the legendary Sark offenses that are super unstoppable. For Ohio State, you can't let Quinn Ewers and Sark find a rhythm. I think a lot of times throughout the games, Texas has been really, really good in spurts, and Texas will have a spurt where their offense looks really good in this game. But if throughout the game for 4 quarters, Quinn Ewers is making his reads, he's doing the right thing, he's making the right throws, like, you're going to have a really, really hard time stopping them. And same for Sark. If Sark doesn't feel like he has his hands tied, does a play calling sheet, things like that, they're going to be a hard team to stop. What's up?
Titles from last night's show. I just saw that. I don't know how that happened.
You saw me change it too.
I'm just telling you. Can't do's for Texas. You can't flutter footballs, Quinn Ewers. Can't at all. Cannot flutter footballs. You got to rip it. You got to rip it with confidence and rip it with, efficiency. Not efficiency is the wrong word. You got to rip it with confidence, man. You can't be throwing fluttering footballs in this football game. Caleb Downs and that defensive backcourt from Ohio State will turn you over. The other can't do. You can't let Jeremiah Smith run into the end zone. All right, hear me out. If Jeremiah Smith has 150 yards in between the 20s in this football game, they might be able to survive. But if Jeremiah Smith has 150 yards and 4 of those receptions end up in him running into the end zone as they have the last 2 football games, you ain't going to do it. You have to make this team earn it in the red zone. So you got to get him on the ground. What has murdered these last 2 football teams is Jeremiah Smith catching 45-yard touchdowns the moment they get the ball past midfield. If you do that, man, you're going to lose this football game. They're going to score 35 points. But if you're able to get them on the ground, make them earn it in the red zone, you might hold them to 2 field goals. That changes a 35-point football game into a 28, 30-point football game. That's winnable for Texas. Texas. I don't think the other one is. Plus, I've always said it's like watching in a high school basketball auditorium. It's like watching a dunk go down. Explosive 50-yard touchdowns gets the whole place just rowdy. It gets the whole place going. It gets the people going. So you got to avoid that.
That is an interesting thing to think about, because I don't know if Ohio State has necessarily had to score in the red zone in these last 2 games.
No.
And Texas has the kind of defense that can make it very difficult to do so. I think their defense is on the red zone is one of the more efficient ones we've seen. It might definitely one of the more efficient ones in this bracket right now. So that's interesting. A couple other ones I had for Ohio State: can't let the Texas front 6 push you around. It can't be another Michigan game, because if it is, we saw what happened. Now, Will Howard making some bad throws aided that in Michigan's victory. I don't think he's going to play that bad as he did, but it certainly won't help if your offensive line is getting pushed around the entire game. Texas, you cannot let Will Howard be a god tier Will Howard. Like, he has to be the Will Howard that you saw the regular season. He doesn't have to play bad. He doesn't have to play awful, but he can't play as good as he's played the last 2 games. I think that's going to be very important for Texas, to get in his face a lot, force him, make him feel rushed, get him to throw some balls that he probably wasn't ready to throw.
Can't do for Ohio State. Can't revert back, right? Can't go back to what it was, before Michigan even. Like, you struggled against Nebraska. You got beat by Michigan. You didn't look 100% like you look like you are now against Penn State, right? There were moments of stagnation in that football game as well. You got to play like you are playing right now, and I think the best way to do that is to continue to play loose. Those guys look like they're having fun and having a good time out there. You got to continue that. You're talented. Go out there and play free, play loose. Your coaching staff has to get you prepared enough to be able to do that. You can't go out there feeling like you don't know what the opposing team is about to do, right? Or you're not ready for it. You can't be playing on your heels to play confident. What's your ultimate prediction on this football game, Kirk?
I'm making an outlandish one here. I think that Bert Auburn is going to kick a game-winning field goal, and Texas is going to win 30-28. That's my prediction.
I got it 34-24, Ohio State Buckeyes.
All right, so I think that's the first one we've disagreed on all week.
That means I'm probably going to be wrong.
We'll see.
It means I'm probably going to be wrong. We have a whole nother hour coming up, and it is our best hour. It's the local hour. See you on the other side of the break.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
All right, not good.
Are we back?
We are back.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Can you control?
Yes.
And then zoom out a little bit. All right. So it is roster movement season. All right. In the world of college football, we all know this. So I thought what would be best of us to do today, as the portal window has officially closed for the University of Georgia, is just to give you a kind of an overview and a rundown of what's been going on as of late with regards to the roster. So here we go. We're going to break it down for you guys and go through, first and foremost, the portal entries, okay? I want to go through these line by line and just talk about what the ultimate loss is for Georgia. Hey, I think Epic Pen pulled up over there on that screen. Will you drag that over here for me, my guy? All right, so let's talk about this, and let's do it. Here we go in nice blue colors. Shout out Tom Brady reaching out to Bill Belichick. What in the world? Click over here. Get rid of that somehow. This is classic. Feels like the old days. I don't even know what got hit here.
I don't either. Go back real quick.
You try to give the audience a visual aid and shit goes to hell, and your boy's orange.
You'll be orange
Here we
for
go.
a second.
All right, I'm going to pull this article up on my laptop here, guys, and I'm going to stop having aspirations that this place will ever be what I want it to be. My apologies, guys. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button and like, subscribe, rate, reviewing. Oh, now we can go back to the board. Lovely. All right, here we go. So Julian Humphrey was the first football player to hit the portal. He has gone. He has already committed to Texas A&M. All right, so you won't see him over the next few years unless you see him in a conference championship football game. Already changed it. Michael Jackson has hit the portal, and here's a little tidbit for you folks at home. If you ever see a Georgia football player hitting the portal, takes about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you start seeing practice footage recorded with a cell phone over a laptop, assume that young man has gone to his full lengths to get anybody to take a nab at him, okay? The number one way to get on a bad list at the University of Georgia is to be out here tweeting out practice footage. And I think that's with everybody. I think that's every football coach in America. They are very, very protective of their practice footage. Okay, so I don't know where Michael Jackson's going to end up. I would imagine he didn't get a ton of bites because he did that, right? I'm just looking out and telling you guys what's what. Todd Bowles' son, Troy, has transferred to Michigan. Good football player for them. I think I'm excited to see what Troy's going to look like with regards to playing time. Super good athlete, just wasn't able to get on the field at the University of Georgia. I think Ja Jarrett is kind of it hurts the Georgia roster because you just don't have a bunch of these big, 6'6", 350-pound guys on your roster. They don't make a ton of them, and he was starting to get some actual playing time for these guys. Has Ja Jarrett committed? I don't believe he has. I think he's committed somewhere already. Will you look that up for me? I think he announced that he's going somewhere, and I think it's a pretty big school, if my memory serves me correct. I think he's going to go play somewhere in Power 4 football. USC. Okay, so yeah, he's going to go play for the Trojans and enjoy LA life. That's a kid from Grimsley, South Carolina, going to LA. That'll be fun. Justin Rett committed to Minnesota. All right, so you're seeing a lot of these retreads aren't exactly Middle Tennessee State. A lot of these guys are football players that are going to go to bigger programs as normal. Like you look at Bama's exit strategies, all of those guys are going to SEC schools, Power 4 schools, Big Ten schools. As is Sam Pimba, who I believe transferred to Nebraska. Is that correct? No, he's Texas A&M. He's AMU. That's a different physical profile than they normally recruit. You look at Texas A&M's roster, they ain't got nothing but avatars. They finding dudes on oil rigs out here. I've been watching too much Land, man. They find these big, long, stretched out dudes. Sam Pimba's brother from another color, Chaz Chambliss, with some twitch. He's 6'2.5", 240. That's a joke, but it's not. If you've been on sidelines at the University of Georgia, they look like carbon copies of one another from a height, weight, speed, or height, weight, stature comparison, muscle mass, all that good stuff. Sam's got a real unique athletic profile. Gonna have to, progress out there at TAMU. I'm excited to see what it ultimately looks like. Ra Thomas hasn't announced anything yet. No. Other than flirting with Auburn on an Instagram live that he thought wasn't live. No, that was Twitch. Wasn't he streaming college football? Twitch streaming. There's like 4 viewers. He was Twitch streaming college football. So we don't know where Ra is going to go. Jake Pope has already transferred to SMU, I believe. UNLV, I believe. UNLV. I knew it was a fun town. That's what my brain told me. Anthony Evans hasn't announced yet, right? He has not. Has not announced. We don't know where Damon Wilson is going to go. Psych, we do. He'll end up at Ohio State. Which of these, Kirby, do you think is like, oof, other than Damon? Other than Damon, you're like, damn, that hurts. Right off the bat, Julian Humphrey, because he was a starter for you for so many games this year, and he's going to an SEC school where you might have to directly play him. But other than that, there's not someone where it's like, man, that really hurts. Maybe Anthony Evans from the potential standpoint, as well as Sam Pimba, but there's not someone where it's like they had to have that guy and they lost him, other than Damon Wilson. I got to be honest. I thought this guy was going to be much better. And look, I'm not talking about wide receiver. I'm talking about football player. Like, watching him miss constant assignments, watching him miss constant blocking, just getting kind of like physically beaten a couple of times. You go watch Anthony Evans' high school football, like highlights tapes, and you see a football player, not just a guy that runs 10-4 in the 100. Like, you're seeing a physical football player from the state of Texas, and I don't know if he ever fully absorbed what was going on to play fast and physical enough, because when I watched him on tape, I saw a guy that just never looked comfortable, never looked confident, except for when he was returning punts, which that's just, hey, catch the ball and go. You know what I mean? All right, so that is the transfer portal rundown. Let's go down here to the draft declarations. Any of these guys kind of surprise you? We knew this one was running out of eligibility. We kind of figured that one was going to get gone. I guess we can circle this one. That one was out of eligibility, and Nazir Stackhouse, sorry, I forget my folks at home listening to us on podcast. Warren Brinson, I believe, was out of eligibility. This is an early indication from Jalen Walker, but I mean, come on, first-round draft pick. Same thing for Michael Williams. Same thing for Malachi Starks. Smile Mondon's out of eligibility. Dylan Fairchild, I think, surprised some people. Jared Wilson certainly did, as did Tyrion Ingham-Dawkins. So just talk about these guys. I don't want to do the good decision, bad decision thing here just yet. History will allow us to make those takes. But what are your initial thoughts, Kirby?
I mean, 90% of the people on that list were either it wouldn't surprise me if they went, or they're gone for sure. Like, there's not any of them where it's like, he probably should have stayed another year. He could have really benefited. Like you said, hindsight will be the judge of that. But there isn't really one where it's like he should have stayed another year.
Look, I don't think Tyrion Dawkins is going to get drafted or undrafted. I don't think it's going to be like a Evander Holyfield type of situation where everyone looks at her like Isaac Nada, I believe, left early and got drafted late. I don't think it's going to be one of those situations. I think it's going to be a 3rd, 4th, 5th round draft pick. However, that being said, we all saw what TID did in that 3 or 4 game stretch where Michael Williams was out. We all saw it. And he dominated. Like, he was really, really good. He was to the point where Mark Stoops and Bush Hardman, who doesn't look like Bush Hardman, are standing in front of microphones saying, yeah, I mean, they lost 13 a couple weeks ago. I thought 93 was playing better. He had an opportunity to do that this year, and I think that was part of the delay in the decision-making process here from Tyrion. I think it kind of dragged a little bit, A, because they were probably telling him the same thing, B, trying to probably counteract or counteroffer whatever draft projection he's got going on.
Yeah, I think that's also one of those ones where he's been there a long time, and he's dealt with a lot of injuries, and I think he's at a point in his career now it's like, try and go get the biggest check you can and see if you can make it shake in the NFL. Like, I think the risk of getting injured again and hurting your draft stock just as much is just as high as coming back and exceeding it that much more.
So Jared Wilson, another football player that entered and declared early that some people might look at and say, but you only started 1 year. Is your draft projection? It's not a first-round draft selection, so what are we doing here? Guys, unless you're the Powers Johnson kid from Oregon, I don't know how many first-round centers are going to get drafted moving forward. I mean, we watched a 4-year starter in Cedric?
3.5.
3.5-year starter in Cedric go in the 4th round to the Buffalo Bills, and he's starting for them, and they're a playoff team. So, like, this is a position that never really gets overdrafted unless you're a guy that can play all 3 interior spots, which we know Jared has not put that on tape, okay? So, any other thoughts on the draft declarations, Kirby?
No, like we said, it's a lot of expected that and saw that coming, so.
All right, on to the returns/portal additions. Now, this one is on the list. I haven't seen an official tweet from him. This is reports, this is sources, this is indications Trevor Etienne is returning. So I want to put that one in a good little caution here, even though I think it's going to happen, okay? Another name that isn't on here, and I think it's the last one everyone's waiting on, is Ernest Green. And I'm not going to break any news here today, but I will tell you what I'm hearing, because everyone's doing that nowadays. I'm hearing that Ernest Green is leaning a return to the University of Georgia, which I already can read the comments. I know they're going to ask, is he coming back to play guard? Is he coming back to play tackle? I don't know. Okay, we're going to find that out this spring. All right, let's talk about these additions first and foremost via the portal, which goes from here down to here. All right, Kirby, which one of those really tickles your fancy?
It's Zachariah Branch, obviously.
Yeah, could be a superstar.
For sure. Could be. But, I mean, it's that Georgia wide receiver curse at this point. It's like, when it happens, we'll see it when it happens. So, I don't want to be the negative one in the room, but it's like there have been guys like this before that it's been very exciting to get them. So we'll see if it pans out.
Zion Branch going to have to recover for some injury. I think didn't he have surgery to end the year?
I believe so.
Okay. Will you look that up for me? And then Adrian Maddox, we're going to get into a film review on him pretty soon. Noah Thomas, I've got film notes on it, as do I with Jaden Harris. We're going to talk about that when we go back to the desk. I'm going to give you my rundown on all of those individual players over there at the desk. A big return list right here so far, at least some important ones, particularly Christian Miller. Christian Miller had a great year this year. I'm excited to see what it looks like in an official bag year for him in his senior year last year at the University of Georgia, Kirby.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the one you really wanted to have back. He had a couple of flashes this year. Obviously, when he wasn't there for injury, his absence was felt, but he's one of those guys where it's like he's going to be the difference maker in that interior defensive line for you.
All right. We've been doing depth chart checks as of late, and you guys have enjoyed it. So here's what we're going to do today. Today, we've already done the offensive line room. We've already done the wide receiver room. Today, we're going to take a look at the defensive backs. With all the latest additions, let's go talk about it. So there are two safety positions to talk first and foremost about, and those are the ones you've made the most additions to. Let's just go ahead and put KJ Bolden over here by his lonesome. Okay? We all know that dude ain't coming off the field next year, right? Amen? Everybody agree? Everybody nod their head. All right, the other safety position is the one that is up for grabs, hypothetically. In the spring, obviously, you start with a guy who's been there the longest, and that is Ja'Cory Thomas. Ja'Cory Thomas, in the grade of evaluation players at the University of Georgia, I would imagine on his grade sheet says W, meaning he is a winnable player. Does it say W+, meaning he could be a third-team All-SEC player? Maybe. Does it say AA, which means he could be an All-American? No. This guy's does. This guy's has AA right next to it. They think one day he will be All-American status, as they did Malachi Starks. So moving on with this, I think to start in the spring, you look at Jaden Harris and you look at Adrian Maddox and you say, hey, which one of you guys is going to step up and maybe beat out Ja'Cory Thomas? That's what we brought you in for. That's what you're here for. You came here to play another season of college football, and you chose to do so in the SEC under the big lights. We don't know the status currently. Did we find out injury status on Zion Branch? We don't know the injury status currently on Zion Branch. Let's just put him down here. All right. And then after that, you start talking about freshmen like Todd Robinson out of Valdosta, who I think starts his college career as a safety. And then maybe you figure out, hey, can he handle the workload and the mental workload to maybe cross-train at a position like star? After that, you look at a kid like Rayshawn Dinkins out of Warner Robins down there, okay? Teammate of Isaiah Gibson, and an absolute stick. All right, this is a dude that thumps. I love the tape. I love the physical, metrics of this football player. Even though he's not like 6'2", he's 5'11", he's 185 pounds. Really good movement skills. And like I said, he brings the hat. Love that. All right, at the safety position, he's going to run the alley really well when he gets to college. All right, let's talk about the star position. Another one, the only other position in that back end, not the corner spots. All right, that back end that's got a known starter coming into the year, and that is Jonel Aguero, right? I thought he played really well in run support this year. Going to have to start making more plays on the football. Going to have to start covering a little bit better. I think that comes with experience. When we're chasing the ball, when we're tackling an open field, when we're reading run keys, a lot of that's natural football instincts. Let's see ball, let's get ball, right? When it comes to being a cover guy, that's a lot of refinement in the technique, okay? He's certainly got all the physical capabilities to do so. I think right after him, you look at a guy like Ja'Cory Thomas, who is already cross-trained. You're going to continue to cross-train him this offseason. If he doesn't win this job, he's going to play downs at this spot. I can almost guarantee you that going into next year. All right, and then you wonder if a guy like, in my opinion, Adrian Maddox, all right, or Jaden Harris could maybe, as my penmanship gets terrible, could maybe cross-train here. But what I don't want to do is ask a guy to come up and enroll in January and by August learn 2 spots. That's really hard to do. So maybe pick and choose one. I think of both of them. I think Adrian Maddox might be the better star player in terms of a physical striker. He shows up a little bit more with the pads. However, Jaden Harris is the better cover guy. We'll talk about that when we get to those individual evals. All right, so we all get that picture. Let's erase this right quick and go to corner because I took up way too much space. Let's talk about corner. Okay, now we broke the safety down into 2 different spots. We're going to break the corner down into one big list. All right, the list starts with a question, and that is Daylen Everette. Now, Daylen Everette has not made a decision on the 2025 season. I would lean that he is I would lean that he is returning, but we will put a question mark there for now. Okay, let's go on to the next list. All right, the next on the list. All right, I got these three guys in one spot. Daniel Harris with a slash, Ellis Robinson with a slash, DeMello Jones. Okay? Everybody knows about Ellis Robinson. Everybody's excited about Ellis Robinson. Everybody is anticipating the reign of Ellis Robinson at corner. I'm here to tell you right now, this kid ain't no joke. This kid ain't no play. DeMello Jones is a really, really, really good football player. They got high aspirations for this young man as well. Okay, so everybody be on alert for number 15 going into the spring. Competition, if you will, opposite of whoever returns in form of Dalen Everett and Daniel Harris. All right, some other names to pay attention to. Guys like Andre Evans, okay, who is a good-looking football player. Don't know how close he is to being able to actually make an impact on this roster. Chris Peel still hanging around the roster. All right, then we start talking about young players like Jonte Gilbert, all right, out of Douglas in Atlanta, all right, and then you look at a football player like Dominic Kelly. Okay, I left a player off that star list back there, Kyron Jones, so don't think I forgot. I just left it off the notes. Okay, that's where you stand right about now at the corner position. Tremendous penmanship.
Very good.
Very good. We good?
We're good.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. I know you've had a lot of questions as of late about the status of all these depth charts. All right, those are not written in stone. Those are written in Brooksy's sources and opinions.
You got to feel kind of good about your spot at corner right now, right?
I would think so, yeah.
Like, you don't have a bona fide, like, there's not a Kamari Lassiter or a Keely Ringo or a guy that's going to lock it down in there right now, but there's also, like, a bunch of solid players. It's kind of like last year.
Not to do this, but I never felt like Keely was locking it down. I felt like Keely was a winnable player.
But he was a bona fide starter.
Correct.
When he was like...
He was a known answer.
Mm-hmm. Well. That's what I'm getting at. And I mean, like, say what you want, but he made the plays that he needed to when he needed to. So
we have a super chub from Spank Mapleton. Quality name. What are the chances that Damon Wilson stays at Georgia? I'm going to give it a 20% chance.
Ooh, is that 35 yesterday?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 20% chance. I don't even feel good about that. I think I'm just selling optimism to you right about now.
If 20%
As the kids say, I'm capping.
If 20% is optimism, that is not good.
I mean, I don't think it's... Maybe they pull one out of their hat, but I don't know. I think whatever... By the way, Ohio State, if that is indeed who we believe is the threat, and that is the threat, they're far more desperate for defensive end players right about now than you are. They haven't recruited a top 100 player at defensive end since Jack Sawyer, who's about to leave that roster, and JT Tuamaloau, who's about to leave that roster. All right, so they're far more desperate at this position than you are. So even if you did counteroffer, what do you think Ohio State's going to do? You know what I mean? So it gets into that portion of the discussion things right about now with this one.
Yeah, I think Ohio State definitely feels more desperate in this affair than you do, which isn't a bad thing for Ohio State. It's not a bad thing either way. It's just like, it's an indication of who's going to get him.
What about the linebacker room? You didn't do them. Tom. We got time, baby. We got time, baby. I think we got nothing but time to talk about what's going on out there. I figure we'd tease you and then please you as the weeks go on.
I mean, we can't blow the content all in one night.
Definitely.
We got an off season to stretch.
Facts. Nah. I was gonna say the cinnamon zins don't give me as much problem on air as the citrus ones do. I don't know why that is.
Citric acid, probably.
I don't think it's actually like citric acid.
I mean, I'm sure they put
tastes like citrus.
I'm sure they put something in it to make it taste that way. I don't know. I don't have any experience in that field.
They're not cool enough. What were the problems? Is that this? That's last night's notes.
That's yesterday.
That's last night's notes. Sorry. That's on me. Georgia's transfer portal pretty quiet.
Yeah, I mean, we came into this period of thinking, oh God, a lot of experts. One who was a player at Georgia said, like, Georgia's going to have 35 guys leave here. They might have half the roster leave. Like, it's going to be a really, really tough season for Georgia in the transfer portal. The transfer window's closed now, and I think they've got like 12, maybe 13 players there, and it's only really one guy where it's like, that one hurt to lose in Damon Wilson. Like, it was a pleasantly quiet transfer portal window for the University of Georgia.
I think it was pleasantly quiet for pretty much everyone.
Do you think that's just because teams were like, the product's not that great, there's not a lot of guys we want, or?
So you got to think about the big portal football teams, right? That normally are out here, moving and shaking. Which the first year the portal opened, it was USC when Lincoln Riley got there.
Yep.
I don't think USC boosters are out here excited about going out and buying new rosters right now.
No, not quite.
Okay. Next team would be Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. That booster base just spent about $17 million on 9-3.
Yeah.
You think you calling back for some more money and getting it? Probably
not. Probably not getting what you got last year.
You're looking at a program like Tennessee's known for having a lot of money right now. They didn't get any nibbles. They get any nibbles out of the portal, even with the players that were out there right now. Who's the best player that Tennessee added in the portal this year?
I can't think of one.
There you go. Couldn't even get Zachariah Branch to go up there and take a visit. Weird. Mm-hmm. Interesting, right? So yeah, I think there's some stuff going on in the portal. When you look at like why aren't there big names in it? Well, the big players aren't involved. Ohio State's trying to win a national title right now, guys. They ain't out here pillaging rosters. They might, but I think that's kind of what we're getting at. And I do think they're across the. Why did I end up with 2 pins in my hand? I think across the board in college football, there was a lot more focus put into retention of talent than addition of talent.
So you think it's just collectively the entire league is kind of like, we don't want to lose any of these guys, so we're going to make sure and do everything they can, be proactive in making sure they're happy.
Yeah.
And with all the deals and the playing time.
They added Amari Jefferson, did Tennessee.
A
guy that, they recruited heavily out of high school. That's a kid from, I know this, the Baylor School in Nashville. Okay, it's one of them big private schools up there. The Baylor School, I believe... I want to say is where Joshua Miller went to school. Either way, big school up there. But yeah, transfer back home. You're going to land those types of guys, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Especially if you recruited them heavily out of high school. It's in Chattanooga, my bad.
So do you think that this is because there was never an example of a team that did win it all with the transfer portal roster? Like Ohio State might buck this trend right now, but other than that, and Ohio State's still Ohio State anyways. Like, they still have talented recruiting classes. Like, there was never a Florida State or a Baylor when Dave Aranda first got there, or a USC where it was like, oh, wow, they went to the transfer portal, got everyone they needed, and then won a national title with it. Do you think that kind of strayed people away as well, as much as it did trying to focus on retention?
I do think there is, if you were a booster base, you have to look at the teams who actually get to the national title and win, and those are the teams that built it through high school and added through the portal, not relied on the portal to be out here building rosters. The histories or the list of examples of those schools are not exactly very successful. Miami fits into that category right now. They just bought a big expensive roster, didn't get much out of it. Okay, didn't squeeze much out of it, or at least what they should have squeezed out of it. Ole Miss fits in this category. We already mentioned USC. Some of these schools that are, hey, let's churn the roster out. They're obviously not having the success that they think they might have.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
It does.
So why? Here's another one then.
Come on.
Why did so many people think that this was going to be such a heavy class for Georgia in the portal? Like, why was it doom and gloom?
People sell fear. People sell fear. That's what they do. There was a really, really prominent national college football voice out here in the springtime saying all hell was about to break loose. It's the selling fear will get people to watch. If you come out here and tell people all hell's about to break loose, they're about to walk 35 guys to the portal, guess who's about to show up? People. They're about to watch. We try not to do that. I don't think we ever have. I'm not going to be out here selling fear. But I think it pulls. I think that's why they do that.
So you don't think it was as much a
Dude, I saw the articles that you're talking about. I saw the articles and the takes. And it's not, I see the name popping up. There was one guy that did something, all right, that had a take recently about 35 guys walking the portal. There was a very prominent site in this circle that was claiming that 45 guys were going to hit the portal. Here we are. 9, 10, 11 guys hit the portal. So
interesting.
I think that time of the year, hey, here's what we're hearing. 45 guys might go. Sign up to find out who they might be. I wonder what you're doing. You know? Is Texas winning a title good for Georgia, Kirby?
So I've thought about
First of all, it's not going to happen. But yeah, is it good for Georgia?
So I've thought about this a lot because, I mean, like, it's the only thing you really can think about right now. It's a kind of would be the silver lining of your season, it feels like, where, hey, you didn't do very well in the postseason. You had a really shaky season all the way throughout. You were wildly inconsistent. But at least at the end of the day, you might be able to have the chance to hang your hat on the fact that you were the team to beat the national champion. You did it twice. You did it once in their home field. You're the only team to have beaten them because at this point, if Texas loses, they're out for the season. So that might be something to hang your hat on. But then on the side of that, it's like you beat a team twice. And they still won the national title. Like, does that do anything for you? It's an interesting thing to where it's like, do you want Texas to go all the way so you have that bragging right? Or do you even care at this point so you can say, like, yeah, we beat them twice. We beat them once in the postseason, and they still were able to find their way to win a national title.
Texas winning a national title will be the greatest day of all time for @DogFans69 on Twitter. @DogFans69 on Twitter, whose tweets are 99.9% replies. This is how I know you're a terrible person, all right? Or at least you have no life. All right, if you're one of these people on social media that, you know, Nick Saban talks about tweeting from your mom's basement, this is how I know you're that person. When I go to your Twitter profile after you've tweeted at me that I'm a dumb, ignorant moron for the 9th time in the 7-day stretch, when I go to your profile and I see that your entire 15,000 tweet history is comprised of nothing but replying to other people's tweets, you have no original tweets, you have no original thoughts, you're just on social media to make people hate themselves. You're a terrible person. That person in the Georgia fan base is going to have a field day the moment Texas wins and you have 2 wins over that team. You're going to claim yourself a national title winner, I would imagine. It's great for those people. For everybody else, I don't think it means a hill of beans.
You don't think so?
No. You know who I'm talking about on social media.
Oh, I know.
You've seen these
I know
people.
exactly
if you're one of those people
about.
listening to this right now, you better go fire off some original tweets or I'm going to maybe block you. I don't block people on Twitter, but I do occasionally.
I don't know. It's interesting to think about now that, because I mean, like, you're very not used to being not one of the last football teams playing. So there's a lot of reflection in the fact that it is teams that you've played now where they have a chance of winning a national title. Like, you always hear that if we're going to lose to them, I'd like to see them go all the way and win it. So that's kind of the thing I'm thinking about. It's like, would you? The fact that you beat them twice and they still somehow won the national title, even though you proved you were better than them twice, did it with one half of a quarterback that was your backup, still beat them. So interesting food for thought, I figured.
It's not happening. It's not happening. If they get by Ohio State, it's happening. But I don't think it's happening. You picked them, though.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do, honestly.
Kirby's a gut guy. Apparently, his predictions on the show don't matter. You have to call him for his real prediction day of. Is this correct? Is this a correct assertion of you?
Yes, but I change it. Like, I still believe what I say when I say it, but it's more like the day of, it's like, I might feel different.
And in normal fashion, I didn't learn this from Kirby. I learned this from Jonathan. He told Jonathan this, and then I heard secondhand from Jonathan. You had a feeling. Me
and Jay will have a lot more talks because, there was a period of time when we were having hour-and-a-half rides every day.
Yeah.
We used to carpool to the show.
Yeah.
Then he moved away and left me out to dry.
And stopped showing up to work.
He'll be here tomorrow, though, right?
I don't know. I'm not asking him to fly into the States tomorrow and then drive straight to Mom's basement.
Oh, I thought he flew in today.
Did he? I thought he said he got home on Thursday.
Oh,
I don't know.
Then it'll just be you and me watching some football.
Yeah, my employees don't necessarily check in with me. They just kind of float in and out.
That's not true.
Yeah, it's not true.
I told you what time I'd be. I gave you the ETA today.
You're right. And you showed up early today.
You
beat ETA by 5 minutes.
Camry was blazing.
I definitely noticed. New era of Georgia football is here. I'm titling this New Era of UGA Football is Here by Christian Kirby.
Yes. So we have entered a era of college football now, obviously with the 12-team playoff, the transfer portal, NIL. All of those things are kind of bringing changes to the sport. But I think that's kind of drawn the attention away from the fact that you're going under a change right now at your program. The era, this kind of quote-unquote golden era that you've experienced is ending. Now, I say that, and let me preface this with, You're still going to be competing for national titles. You're still going to be one of the best teams in the country. You're still going to be the Georgia Bulldogs led by Kirk Herbstreit. But the Renaissance era of dominance that Georgia had on that 2021-2022 seasons where you won back-to-back national titles, and even in 2023 where you went 12-0 through the regular season and you were still very clearly one of the best teams, tripped up in the SEC championship, we know the story, that's over. Because you come into this 2025 roster, there's going to be virtually no one that's your starter other than maybe Oscar Delp and sometimes Dylan Bell that had in-game experience in national title games. None of them will have played in both of them. So you're at a point now where that culture of the championship winning culture that you saw in 2021 and 22 with the leaders and all those things, the foundation of that was set. But you're at a point now when it gets so far in the distance that it's kind of withered away and you have to set a new foundation now. So you're in the era where it's kind of, you have to reset that championship foundation. Now the good news for Georgia is, as turbulent of a season you had, you can still have that championship foundation. You found a way to win the SEC championship after going up and down all year. You found a way to win an 8 overtime game, crawling back from a 2-score deficit with 5 minutes left. Like, things like that show that you are more than capable of still having championship culture, but it's time to build another one other than relying on what was set in front of you in 2021 and 22. Because the reality is those rosters are gone. There is no Brock Bowers, there is no Stetson Bennett, there is no Nolan Smith. The leaders of that team that set the foundation, that imprinted on the guys ahead of them, are gone. It's now you have to have new guys that set this new culture. So I think that's kind of the new era you're entering under Georgia football and Kirby Smart. It's not a bad one. It's what happens. Alabama had to do this under Nick Saban. The Ohio State programs did this when they were winning titles. So, I mean, like, it's not bad. It's to be expected, but it is kind of sad to know that that really great era of Georgia football where you're like, hey, we're in the glory days right now, that's over. You're still going to be in the glory days. Like, you're still in a great era of Georgia football. You're still in a great place, but it is time to move on from that, I believe.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, we don't just talk for a living either. We write a little bit, and I read the work, and this is when I knew you were cooking right here. Quote, but as the post-mortem era of the Dawgs season brings changes throughout the building, Georgia football as a whole is undergoing change as well. At that point right there, I wrote in my notes, I knew you were cooking here, whipping the almighty Benjamin.
Hell yeah.
You
found out what the Benjamin means, didn't you?
Apparently, I said a joke last night that I didn't know was a joke. I thought, you call Ben Benjamin, you call the pen the Benjamin.
Yeah. I can't believe
Benjamin. Not whatever you children are doing nowadays.
Let's be fair. You are friends with the Benjamin.
Yeah, this Benjamin.
Look, I'm not going to air you out.
Friends with the Benjamin here.
I'm not going to air you out, but let's just say I was very surprised to find out that you were not privy to what the Benjamin was.
No, this was an aloof joke by myself. I don't think I'm using the word aloof properly there. It was an accidental Benjamin joke last night. That's on me.
No, but hey, it was good. So first of all, I appreciate you actually reading the article. It means a lot. Thanks, man.
You think I don't read what goes out on our network?
I mean, we put out a bunch, so.
We do put out a bunch. This is grind.
What's the website? Where can people go to find it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. SI.com/college/Georgia. That's where you'll find us. Or just search Georgia Bulldogs on SI. Mm-hmm. You'll find us right there. Yeah, we do some good work over there. We're Sports Illustrated affiliated. Did you know that?
Shameless plug, baby.
Shameless plug right there. Shout out to Sports Illustrated. We're coming up on 7 years with Sports Illustrated.
Damn.
No, 6. Just had my 5-year anniversary. 6 in April.
I'm coming up on, it'll be 3 for me in November.
So Blitz 2K is apparently telling the chat what I think I am. He's commented twice now. You can tell Brooks thinks he's strong. You can tell Brooks thinks he's frat. I definitely still think I'm relatively strong. Here's my bar for this. If you can bench your own body weight. The moment I can't bench my own body weight, I'm washed. Now, what I've been doing as of late is decreasing my body weight. So ever so slightly because I'm getting ever so weaker.
Well, when you lose body weight, you're still losing muscle mass at some degree. So I mean,
unfortunately,
that's not bad if you can.
But no, I'm no longer strong. At one point in my life, I was extremely strong. No more. But don't think you can. I definitely don't think I'm in a frat. I disassociate with anybody who is normally. I don't run around with frat dudes.
There's a couple of them.
I think it's the collared shirt and the quarter zip that's got my man talking like that.
Yeah, you have gone frat as far as the wardrobe goes.
Someone once told me that they would be embarrassed if they hired me based off the way that I dress, and that they would fire me if they ever hired me. And then they stopped themselves and said, "No, never mind. I would have never hired you in the first place, you unprofessional bum." So yeah, I started dressing a little better.
Damn, you sold out.
Basically.
It happens, man.
To us all. Speaking of selling out, shout out to our friends over at Better. If you haven't already, head over to Better. Use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $200. Again, that's promo code Brooks. We love a good sellout. We love a good cash out over there on Better. Hammering those player props. Over, under. Get on in on the action. Promo code Brooks over there on Better. That's smooth.
That was
right
smooth.
there.
I don't know how Better would feel about us saying we sold out, but we're happy to use them. We enjoy their services. We're not selling out by any means. We use this on the daily. We actually play on Better. So,
top 5 players that got to take leaps in 2025. Kirby, who do you got?
This was a harder list to make than I thought it would be.
You know why? Because there's not a lot of returning production.
And there's also everyone could play better if you really asked them to. Like, there wasn't anyone that is coming back this year that you're like, you know what? They had a really, really, really good year. So, the first one that came to mind for me was C.J. Allen. And I said C.J. Allen because of the fact that it's that year 3 thing in linebackers. Nakobe Dean popped in year 3. Quay Walker popped in year 3. Roquan Smith popped in year 3. Basically, every Georgia linebacker legend that Kirby Smart has had, their best season came in year 3. C.J. Allen has to turn in his best
Quay's
season.
came in year 4.
Was Quay a senior?
Mm-hmm. Junior year was him in 25. His first time getting a start against Cincinnati the day he blocked me on Twitter.
Huh. I really thought Quay Walker was a junior when he declared.
Senior.
Either way.
Played 4.
Either way. But it takes... So, forget Quay Walker from that. It's typically year 3 for guys.
It's
Walker,
never year 1 or 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I think we all were somewhat disappointed with the output CJ Allen had this year. We all kind of labeled him as the next Roquan Smith. I think that he still has the ceiling to do that. It's still very likely that it could be. But if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen in year 3. So that's one of mine. You want me to just roll through?
Yeah, rat-a-tat. Next
one, whoever starts at left tackle. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know who's coming back, who isn't, what the depth chart looks like, but you have to have a major improvement from them. The left tackle position this year was not great. It was a big liability. And in an instance where your quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, is going to have a slower release than Carson Beck, I think that's an objective statement at this point. You need as much protection on the backside as possible. Gunnar Stockton's played in 1.5 football games right now, and his blind side has gotten killed 3 or 4 times. 3 of them resulted in fumbles already. So, you really need to secure the blind side for Gunnar Stockton, because if you don't, you're going to have a lot more turnovers. You're going to have a lot more fumbles. So that's definitely one I have. Number 3, I have Xavier McLeod. He flashed a lot on the defense line. Now, I know he was hurt starting the year and kind of didn't get a lot of playing time because of it. And he flashed a good bit. With Warren Brinson leaving, with Nazir Stackhouse leaving, Xavier McLeod has to take that next step forward. It's great that you have Kristen Miller back, and he's probably one of the better familiar faces that you have on this defense right now. But you need Xavier McLeod to take that next step as well and really be that disruptor, because we saw, hey, there's a lot of potential here in this kid. This is why they took him. You saw why he was on the roster. You saw why he was getting more reps towards the end of the season. It's time for him to become a full-fledged starter and possibly even a game wrecker. And then the 5th one I have is KJ Bolden. KJ Bolden had a really great year, especially for a true freshman. I don't think anyone can take anything away from the year he had, but he's the guy in that backside room now. He is the alpha. He is the leader. Malachi Starks is not there. We don't know what the Dalen Everett situation is going to be. Daniel Harris will have to somewhat be that, but KJ Bolden is going to have to step up and be that leader, and you got to play like the leader. He didn't play bad, but you have to definitely show improvement if you want that secondary room to buy into what you're doing and saying.
Chase Carey asked, why did you get blocked by Quay Walker on Twitter, Brooks?
What a fun story.
You mature as you get into this and as you do it more often. And when you're early in this industry and nobody knows your name, you try to be a little bit hot takier than you normally are, right? Than you are now when you become semi-established, even though I'm not. But his first career start was against Cincinnati in that Peach Bowl in 2020. I don't know if you guys remember. That would have been January of 2021. And Quay didn't necessarily have a great game in that one, from what I remember. And he gets called for a hold in the second half on a kickoff return. I mean, he tackles the dude. It ain't even a hold. It's a full-fledged tackle on kickoff return. And I thought it'd be funny to tweet out, that's the best tackle Quay Walker's made all day. And about 3 hours later, after the culmination of said football game, I get a direct message from one Quay Walker With that tweet, 3 laughing emojis and an immediate block. Warranted.
That's
Deserved.
that's honestly so interesting, though.
Yeah.
Because
deserved.
to take the time to say, like, to even just acknowledge that, this is kind of funny, and then to immediately block him, like, you got to respect that from Quay. It's not like he tweeted you, like, you're a punk, you'll never be anything in life. Like, it didn't seem like he was bothered by it, but he's like, won't be hearing from this man anymore.
Also, a random Georgia player that blocked me for a reason I have no idea. I'd love to meet him one day and ask. John Fitzpatrick.
The tight end?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Blocked me on Twitter. I have no idea why. Must have been watching the show, listening to me talk about how he's just a blocker or something. I have no idea. Blocked me on Twitter.
Huh.
Those are the only 2 that I know of. Outside of that, I think everybody's cool with the boy.
Never had any coaches block you or anything?
Mm-mm.
Huh.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Do you feel a sense of pride at this point now when you get blocked, where you're like,
No.
all right, we made a big time?
No, I don't want to piss somebody off. But I understand why people would, like, especially the way that I do it. If you find that I'm critical of your play on Twitter or, on the film, but I don't feel like I've ever gone out of my way to harp on a dude. Now, every once in a while, a parent will come up to me and say something. I had one player this year who I had multiple times over pointed out on film, basically saying, like, this isn't good enough. Not from the execution department, but from an effort department standpoint. I got one of those, hey, did you think we played hard enough today? Type of comments after a game. But no, most of the time it's pretty copacetic.
That's one thing I will say I was surprised by, just kind of being around more this year when it comes to going to games. Like, there's a lot of parents that watch the show. Mm-hmm. A lot of them. And
most of those interactions we appreciate, the way you speak about our son. I don't get a lot of, you better watch how you talk about my kid.
Well, I don't think we're out here trashing people out.
Oh, there's a defensive tackles connected person who he wasn't a fan.
Well, I think that's other reasons. Yeah. Like, that's more of their own issues as it is to us doing our thing.
For sure. I have my top 5 players. They got to take a leap. 5-1. Number 5, Oscar Delp. I'm not expecting an 800-yard season from Oscar Delp next year. What I am expecting is for when your position coach is Todd Hartley and your position coach has coached NFL like dudes, I think 7 or 8 of them, all the way back to his Miami days when I think the tight end for the Cleveland Browns, Ojoku, was his first big tight end at Miami, all the way up to the last one with Brock Bowers. All right. I understand this is that type of football coach. When that guy comes to the media and tells me you're the most fundamentally sound tight end he's ever had in blocking, you better be clean. And he wasn't clean this year. All right. So the expectations of me for Oscar Delp in the blocking department are Todd Hartley saying you are the most fundamentally sound football player he's ever coached at the position. Because he said that, and I'm going to hold you to that, and you got to play to that this coming up year. Number 4, Gabe Harris. With all of the departures from the edge and defensive end room, Gabe Harris has got to take a massive leap in 2025 for this football team. I paired the linebackers up, CJ and Raylan. They've got to have good seasons coming up. I think number 2 is Gunnar Stockton. I think it's fair to ask for even more. I want to see a physical development from him. I want to see Stetson Bennett 2021 to 2022. Where did those muscles come from?
That's not a good comp to give. People are going to run with that now.
I'm talking about physical development.
I know what you're talking about.
Bro, Stetson showed up with like veins and cut up arms and like a real lower half. Not like, hey, that guy was a walk-on. No, like showed up with the tight sleeves because he knew he did arm work all off season. That's what I want to see. I want to see that type of development. I'm not talking about, oh, you were a 2,800-yard passer. Can you finish 3rd in the Heisman? That's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm talking about physical development. Get bigger.
I'm just saying that people love the. He reminds me of Stetson Bennett.
No. I don't think that's that. Stetson's one of the more athletic throwers you'll ever see. Stetson can get it with 100% juice from here. He can get it with 100% juice from here. Gunner's 110% juice from right here all the time. Okay, so 2 totally different styles of football players in my opinion. One's twitchy, one's tough. 2 totally different guys. Number 1, it's a guy who hadn't played hardly at all. But I need him to go from talented freshman who, if we had to play, we think we'd be okay, to, is that guy one of the best guards in the SEC? Daniel Calhoun. I think Daniel Calhoun's got to take catastrophic leaps, massive bounds between right now and the start of the football season. He's got to be ready to go. I think they're going to be dependent upon him.
Yeah, I think Daniel Calhoun is definitely, I mean, just people in the O-line in general need to really step up, but Daniel Calhoun is going to be one of them because that guard position is wide open for the taking. Another one I want to talk about, Oscar Delp. I think one of the main things you need from him is just play like a senior.
Yeah.
Like, you're at a point now where you've gone 4 or 5 years without having starting senior presence in that tight end room. Like, Darnell never made it to his senior year. Brock didn't make it to his senior year. Like, you have to go all the way back to, I think, Trey McKitty in 2020. And I don't even know if he was a senior, and he was someone that joined your team for one season. So,
real disrespectful to the run of one Benjamin Urasek.
but again, like, Ben Urasek is
Benjamin
Urasek.
Yeah, Benjamin Urasek.
But he's not a guy that was, like, started for Georgia and went all the way through. Like, there's not been a lot of guys that's, like, signed with Georgia, played for 4 seasons at the tight end position. So I think that's probably important.
Benjamin Urasek.
There's one thing that we left off on the transfer portal discussion. It's a question I wanted to ask you. We talked about how there was not a lot of activity in that. Do you think the fact that Georgia's window was kind of shortened because of the fact that they were still playing when the window was open and then they only had 5 days afterwards, do you think that aided in the fact that guys are kind of rushed to decisions? They're like, you know what, I'm happy where I am, I'll just stay here for now. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
I'm not accusing anybody of nothing. But there's a bunch of guys that they're still actively recruiting right now that are committed to other schools in the portal that haven't signed their letter of intents. Now, why haven't they signed their letter of intents? Probably because Georgia didn't get in the mix until they got done playing ball. See what I'm saying? The kid, Adrian Maddox, was committed to Florida for a week or maybe 3 or 4 days and then flipped to Georgia and signed his letter of intent. There is a commit in the Big 12 right now that I've given out on patreon.com/Brooks Austin that Georgia is very heavily involved in right now in the portal. They are very much so in conversations with them. So I don't think they're done. But I think a lot of these guys were waiting because why wouldn't you? There's massive players still out. Like, if you think you want to play at Texas right now, you can be committed somewhere, but don't you dare sign that letter of intent. They're still hunting. They will be. They're kind of consumed with winning a national title right now, but in 3 days they might not be.
It's funny how the transfer portal window never really ends.
No, it's fugazi.
Yeah,
even the time slot of the whole purpose of it being there is for communication purposes, and we've all known since the day the portal opened, y'all ain't following these rules. Y'all aren't waiting until December to call the starter at Syracuse that you think can play for you, or the starter at Purdue that you think can play for you. You've called him in October. We all know that. You're a liar. Stupid.
Do you think this happens in the NFL?
Tampering? Yeah.
So why is that not like the issue? Like, no one ever alludes to tampering taking place in the NFL. Is it because it's such a more condensed?
No one feels sorry for the billionaire owner. Probably.
Well, not like that. There's never been a coach where it's like, oh yeah, very good for them. They got that guy in free agency. They were definitely talking to him all throughout the season when you're not supposed to. Is that because there's an actual governing body and it's only 32 teams that you have to police?
Well, no, I think it's because in the NFL, there's like this guy's coming up. You know what I mean? He's on his contract here. He's about to be a free agent. Whereas in college, you're not about to be a free agent.
Yeah.
I got to talk you into free agency in this method.
You're never in the market, but you're always on it.
Correct. You're always listening. And even if you aren't as a player, your agent is nowadays. That's the real thing we got to govern. We got to govern these agents, man. They're getting out here wilding.
Yeah. Who should Georgia cheer for in this game tomorrow?
Notre Dame.
It's got to be Notre Dame. At this point,
you cheer for the team that beat you. You want them to go as long as they can.
Validate the loss.
Yeah. That's fandom. That's what fandom is. You do everything to validate your team being the best. So Notre Dame winning makes you look the best, as does Texas winning. I got film notes. If you haven't watched our Noah Thomas film study, I think we released that before the show. I think last time I looked, it's already over 4,000 views. So appreciate you guys for tuning into that one. If you haven't already, feel free to do so. But I'm going to give you the synopsis real quick. Everybody knows 6'6", 205. Now, Kirby, you're my certified ball knower around here.
Let's hear it.
When a player is that tall and plays wide receiver, what are you most concerned about his ability to do?
Top end speed.
Most of these guys are build speed. I go the other way around in my scouting history.
Separation?
Immediate separation. That twitch, right? These are longer, linear, more stretched out athletes. They're more build speed football players normally. They're faster 20 to 40 than they are 0 to 20 because they got longer limbs. It's harder for them to get up and quick. The easiest way to explain this to you is think of Usain Bolt as a sprinter. Usain Bolt was 6'5", 6'6". He's a tall, long sprinter. If you go watch his world records, he is in like 6th out of the blocks. He's never an immediate sprinter. He's a build speed guy. Most of these bigger, taller, longer guys are this way. Noah Thomas has a real unique ability at this size to create separation off the line of scrimmage against press man coverage, which that if I were scouting this guy as an opposing defensive coordinator, the first thing I would do is say, let's make him uncomfortable at the line of scrimmage. Let's not allow him to build that speed that we know he's got. But he does a great job of getting skinny, not giving a big surface, despite the fact that he is a big surface. I compared him today, Kirby, to a stick bug. You know, stick bug, big, long limbs, thin, slender frame. He's one of those, but he is the rare, big, long, tall guy that is quick and like has real good, lateral ability.
Now, I think when you say stick bug, the first word that comes to your mind is weakness. Like, is he not strong enough at contact? Is that something that's going to be an issue?
He has all of those. But when you see these 6'6" guys that in college, you're like, oh, he's going to be a tight end in the NFL. He's just going to grow himself out of that. The thing that I look for is the general broadness of the shoulders, the general broadness of the hips. If you are a broad-hipped guy at 6'6", I know you're going to be 250 pounds. I know you're going to grow into that. This guy's real slendered. He's all the way lean, all the way throughout. I don't think he's ever going to be a 220-pound guy, but I also don't worry what you're talking about. I don't worry about him getting bullied or people being able to get into his chest. I think he does play tough and physical for the size that he is.
That's good. I think that's probably the worry when you hear of the lengthy, the tall guys, where it's like they're tall, but they might not be strong. Yeah. Here's the question I'll ask that no one cares, but how's he block?
Good enough.
Efforts? Well,
yeah, efforts. But most of these guys that are playing out at X like he is, he's so far from the ball anyways that he's running guys off. You're in man coverage. I'm going to run you down the sideline, pretend we're running a fade. We're really running inside zone to the right. If you run all the way across the field and run down our running back, we need a new running back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need a new running back. If you're over here on the sideline and we run stretch zone to the right or truck toss to the right and he's running down the sideline and that corner runs him down all the way across the field, new running back. That ain't happening at Georgia normally, unless the guy on the backside's a 9'8", 100-meter runner. So I think it's serviceable enough. And most of the receivers at Georgia that really got to buckle down and block are those slot receivers, those H's, those guys that are closer to the box when we bunch up. I don't expect this guy to be that.
Is he a day one starter?
I would. And we showed it on the tape. This is the first. We have Epic Pin up?
We do.
Okay. This is the first guy in a long time that I think is going to actually force defenses to make a decision and dictate coverage. You guys have seen Georgia play in duos, motion to 3x1 quite a bit over the last several years. Okay, putting the Z over here and the H over here. Now, we'll start in duos, quarterback here, running back on the right. We'll motion this guy over, and now we're in 3x1. All right, teams in the SEC, most of the time, against the duo look, all right, they'll play the safety over here, give it a quarters or a two-high shell. The moment you rotate over, they'll either rotate the safety all the way to the middle of the field and ask this corner to play what we call MEG coverage, man everywhere he goes, okay? Basically one-on-one all by yourself. Or if that guy's really, really good, all right, we'll play what we call dog coverage, which basically means you can play up underneath him. We're actually going to hold the safety left over here and basically say the X is so good, we've got to cover him with two. You haven't had an X receiver to force this since George Pickens. All right, and what you would see Todd Monken do is he would take this slot receiver, he'd run him over to the right, and now all of a sudden he's throwing back shoulder face to George Pickens over here. We're taking those one-on-one shots. Y'all haven't done that a ton over the last several years. When you do, what do? You run two-step slants off of it really quick, try to get the ball out of the hand of the quarterback really, really quickly. All right, now that this guy's here, if he starts having success like he did against Auburn in that man everywhere he goes coverage, you're going to start having safeties rotate over the top of him. We're going to start opening things up for other football players. All right, this is the first one that I've actually seen, and it's not a projection. I've seen SEC teams do it to him. All right, Auburn, to start the football game, they are rotating help, all right, to Noah Thomas, and I showed it to you on film. They're rotating. They're taking this guy. When this guy motions over, the nickel ultimately condenses, and then at the snap, he's running back up underneath Noah Thomas over here trying to provide help. Towards the end of the football game, all right, Auburn's defense is starting to struggle to really stop the run. All right, they started to rotate away from that, playing man everywhere he goes. Next thing you know, they take that two-step slant. Noah Thomas catches it, takes it 76 yards to the door for a touchdown. All right, second touchdown of the game. The other thing that you already know a 6'6" guy is going to be able to do is win high point footballs. He's done this at a high rate already in the SEC level. You assume it's going to, convert once he gets to Georgia. The other thing that I like about this addition to Georgia's roster, Kirby, and I think you can attest to this, I felt like Gunnar Stockton did a really, really good job of throwing those balls outside the hashes, outside the numbers, those one balls, those balls we can throw with aggression. I thought the ball placement on those were tremendous.
They were very good. It was Jake Fromm-esque, and I know that everyone kind of...
With more velo.
Mm-hmm. His back shoulder ball was very impressive. Like, if Dylan Bell doesn't step out of bounds, and doesn't get tripped by that last guy, that's a touchdown. So
the chat hit the nail on the head. He had 158 yards in that football game. I think he could have had 250.
Could have.
I think he could have had 260. Like the dude was open most of that football game. And I do think for the first time, long time, you're going to have people have to make decisions about, are we going to help out over here? This guy's a problem. And then you pair him up with a guy like Zachariah Branch. I know the building's always high on these guys before the season. They feel like they have an opportunity to have maybe, quote unquote, one of the best units in the country. That's the way they feel about these evals and the guys that they've signed. By the way, guess who signed Noah Thomas to Texas A&M?
That would be James Coley.
That would be James Coley. Okay, so again, y'all can do whatever you want on social media talking about all kinds of wild stuff about this wide receivers coach. He is the sole purpose and the sole reason that your room looks way better right now than it did, a month ago. So there's that. Also have film notes for you guys on Jaden Harris. I want to read this to you guys because it's way better than me doing this off the cuff. I sent this to a source today. Not that you guys care about my opinion on players, but I work on these evals. Someone might as well read them and ignore them. Here we go. Jaden Harris. He has questionable run fits, to say the least, when running the alley. He's a high school corner, so it makes sense. He's very, very new to the safety position, but he's at least willing to stick his nose in when the fits are correct. All right. When he is actually running downhill into the right gap, he's not, soft. He's not going to be afraid to stick his nose in. He is a little bit of an ankle biter, but any corner who is now being asked to play safety at the next level is going to probably be an ankle biter until he, grows into his pads just a little bit. A little bit slow out of his pedal, both driving down on routes and turning and running. But for every negative play, there is a playmaking play. He impacts the ball. He makes flash plays. He's not the smoothest athlete, but good enough. Clean the run fits up, clean up the brakes out of the pedal, and you have a playmaker with questions only about top end speed and overall size.
Wow. I think you'll take that if you're Georgia right now.
The Noah Thomas eval was much shorter. Noah Thomas, freak that shouldn't be that good at releases at that size.
That's all you want to hear.
The response was no perfect safeties, but he can cover. They feel like this Jaden Harris guy can cover. And he was a high school corner that drew, major interest from Power 4 teams out of Riverwood High School.
Hell yeah.
So there you go. We good?
I believe that's our Wednesday show.
Appreciate you guys for being here. We will be back tomorrow for a watch-along broadcast. I hope you show up. I hope you do the numbers. If you don't, we'll never do it again.